Maundy Thursday holds a special place in my own spirituality. Sure, it gets outdone, so to say, by Christmas, Good Friday, and Easter, when it comes to forming the Church's core and most significant identity. Even the two A feasts, Annunciation and Ascension, rival today. But when it comes to being the Church, not just in our age, I think Maundy Thursday has it all. On the one hand, we celebrate today the institution of the Lord's Supper, of that sacred meal that is at the heart of the life of the Church. It remains a mystery what exactly happens when we break bread and share the cup. But God is present. Jesus Christ is present in and under the elements of bread and wine, offering in himself and through himself grace beyond imagination. The Holy Spirit is present as she gathers us around the table and joins us to the Church Universal throughout time and in every place, sharing with us a foretaste of the heavenly banquet. And God the Father is present as we gather to worship him, to adore him, to acclaim him Lord and God in union with the Son and with the Holy Spirit. On the other hand, this is the day we're given a new commandment, Novum Mandatum in Latin, from which we get the word Maundy. Christ tells his apostles, "A new commandment I give to you, love one another as I have loved you." At the heart of the Christian community is love. Love of God and love of those with whom we share the sacred meal. At the heart of Christian ministry is love. Love of God and love of those with whom we minister in the name of God's love. And at the heart of Christian mission is love too. Love of God and love of everyone we encounter and to whom we witness God's love. Everyone, whoever they are and wherever they find themselves on the journey. Love one another, for I have loved you. This year we gather in circumstances that might make loving hard. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, we are separated physically and isolated from one another. We are trapped in fear of the virus, in fear for loved ones, in fear for our livelihoods, in fear as much as in worry, fear of mental health, and maybe even domestic violence. How on earth are we to love when our spouse is abusive, when depression sets in, when money is tight, and when our neighbors might be the source of sickness and even death? How are we to love God, whom we proclaim as Almighty, but who seems to be so powerless right now? Today, we also commemorate the 75th anniversary of the martyrdom of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. On April the 8th, 1945, Bonhoeffer, a Lutheran pastor, was murdered by the Nazis in Flossenbürg concentration camp. And today, I'm going to argue that he was murdered because he followed Christ's new commandment with all its consequences. For Christians, love of God and love of neighbor is not a sappy, schmaltzy, and saccharine emotion. No, Christians understand that love is commitment, God's total commitment to humanity, even to the point of God sharing a human death on the cross, and our commitment, total commitment to God and to our neighbor. And these commitments lead to action. Commitments cost. Love costs. Love is sacrificial. Love is first and foremost a commitment to the God to whom we are all to submit, as much as the same God who will not abandon us, but who will embrace us, sit with us, hold our hand, and go with us into whatever darkness and pain we might have to face. Only in love and by loving, can we hold together the unreconcilable dichotomy. On the one hand, God is the almighty creator, beyond time, no beginning and no end, eternally powerful and majestic. And on the other hand, God is the fragile babe, born of our sister Mary and nailed to the cross, lying in a manger and lying in a tomb. And love is secondly and equally commitment to the other, not just to those we like, but also to strangers, to those who wish us harm, and those who irk us. This does not mean we must become doormats, quite the opposite. Bonhoeffer participated in an attempted tyrannicide because he believed that love of those persecuted and killed by the Nazis justified and even demanded the killing of Adolf Hitler. Not as a revenge, no. Hitler, despite the evil he brought about, in the end remained a beloved child of God. But Bonhoeffer saw in Hitler a new Pharaoh who enslaved God's children. And the only way for the oppressed to go free in the 1940s was for Hitler to be killed. And I believe in this, Bonhoeffer implemented the new commandment with all its consequences. One of my favorite poems by Bonhoeffer expresses the truth of Christian love. It is called Christians and Pagans. This is not a theological definition of who is a Christian and who is a pagan. But the poem exemplifies the difference between those who understand the commitment of love and those who don't, even if they're baptized and believe in Jesus as Lord. So here it goes. People turn to God when they are in need, plead for help, contentment, and for bread, for rescue from their sickness, guilt, and death. They all do so, both Christians and pagans. People turn to God in God's own need and find God poor, degraded, without roof or bread, see God devoured by sin, weakness, and death. Christians stand with God to share God's pain. God turns to all people in their need, nourishes body and soul with God's own bread, takes up the cross for Christians and pagans both, and in forgiving both is slain. So if you are abused at home right now, don't think there is no way out. The pandemic is not an excuse for abuse. Know that you are loved. You deserve better. Reach out. We commit to you. If you're feeling blue or struggle with mental health, know that you are not alone. Know that what you're going through is not unusual and is not unacceptable. Know that you are loved. You deserve to be better. Reach out. We commit to you. Yes, love costs, because love acts. But let us recommit to love, true love. Let us this Maundy, Thursday, this day as we remember Dietrich Bonhoeffer, commit to love of God and love of neighbor, with all its implications and all its sacrifices, so we can stand with God to share God's pain, and so that we can sing with Bonhoeffer, who while imprisoned and isolated from family and friends, wrote these words: "By good powers are we surrounded in wonderful ways. God is with us in the evening and in the morning, and most certainly on every new day." Amen.